Hello, everybody, and a happy Tuesday to each and every one of you. It's time for your daily lighting critique. I have slightly warmer light on me today. As you can see, it's a very rainy day here in New York City. I've got a warm tungsten bulb on me and a camera that does not want a white balance. So here we are. It works out very well because we have this night theme by Theo with some warm light. We also have, see Aaron's breaking it by having this bright daylight. See, now we're back into the warmth of Ashley and Kat as well. So I think it fits okay. So we're actually going to start here with Theo's, just because this is, I was looking at this earlier today and kind of playing around with it a little bit because I was like, it's what I do with my own images, which is like, I'm looking at it, I'm like, this is good, but I want, there's like something more that I wanted to do to it that I think could take it to like that next step. And you're totally right, Theo. That ambient occlusion really helped. That was a great note. Aaron, was that your note from yesterday? I forget whose note that was. It was a good one.
I wasn't here yesterday.
Nothing. Maybe it was Justin. I can't remember, but somebody gave a really great note about the ambient occlusion, and I thought that worked out really well. So what I did was I took this and I just did some more mock-up stuff in Photoshop, and I took it from this to this. And I think if you don't want to go quite this bright, it's totally fine. Also, now that I'm seeing that this orange is a little bit much, pull that back just a little bit. Anyway, I'll just talk through what I did. So what we did was we started here, and I thought, you know what, like I wanted a little bit more in the fill area on him, just like a little bit more. So I goosed. Actually, let me go through. I'll do it this way. This is it. So what I did was I just well, the first thing I wanted to do was add more diffusion to it overall. So I added a little blur to it, put that on top, and then just kind of level that out. But I was like, it's still not enough. Like it still just kind of feels hazy on top of this. So what I did was I goosed the levels a little bit, and I took basically this mid-tone and I pushed it up. I pushed it up a little bit, but that's basically what I did was, so it was just a matter of increasing the midtones a little bit. From there, I just created a rectangular marquee, added a little bit of darkness, blurred that up quite a bit, and then I just kind of wanted to create a little bit more of a vignette effect on that, and I just kind of transformed that down a little bit, so it wasn't really, I guess I could have gone more on the bottom, but like just to get a little more vignette on the top. And then from there, I managed to push the brights a little bit brighter. And then kind of went through, I did a little bit more of I went in and adjusted the diffusion so it wasn't quite as fuzzy. And then I added a little bit more on top there, and then erased it from some of the outer areas to kind of keep the diffusion isolated on the tops. And that's where we are. So basically it's like, you know, base level, a little bit of diffusion on top, which actually, this is probably feeling a little bit strong. Let's take that down. And then creating a little vignette around the side. So I think this works. And to me, it feels a little bit better. But again, this is your project. This is just those nitpicky things at the end. It's good as is. I just feel like that this could help it out a little bit more. And then additionally, what I would do is, looking at this now, I think I'll just take this, go like that. I'm just going to darken the base of him just a little bit more. Put that over top, blur the heck out of it. Something like that, and take that down. Yeah, it doesn't look great because I use kind of a grayish color. I should just go black. But I think that way. I think that darkening around the base of them just a little bit kind of keeps the focus up. I think that'll work. Yeah, like that. Because now it's like we're really just kind of centering in right around the face as being the main focal point. So that's really all I would tweak from here. Do you guys have any other thoughts? And I like the warmth on this little ding here. Really makes, like, I think it can keep this as being blue with just that little bit of warmth. Really helps tie it together. All right, cool. So let us hop over into Aaron's piece. So we've got two images. We'll start with this Well, yeah, this is your submission. This is part of what you had submitted previously. And this, yeah, go ahead.
So this is I decided, because the first room is all underground, no natural light.
Mm-hmm.
This is the third room, which is all natural light. So I was like, okay, well, I'll do the all natural light one, and then I'll meet in the middle room where it's some fire plus some natural light.
Yeah.
And this room, I hate this room. I'm not inspired by it, like, whatsoever. I'm having a hard time, like, I was even having a hard time finding reference that was, like, inspired. It just all feels like, okay, well, like, there's the sun,
Yeah.
like, and I gathered, like, reference from, like, I was looking at, like, paintings, just video games, like, other video game outdoor scenes that I was kind of familiar with. I thought about using, like, Ubisoft key art, but their key art is literally just saturated illustrations. Like, it's not, I mean, it's pretty, but it's not, like, accurate to any. So, I don't know. I'm kind of just having a hard time just deciding, like, what should be done with this room. Like, I added the sun. I did some post-process effects to get my saturation levels a little higher than what is being offered with the scene. And I added, like, a separate key for the statue to kind of, like, add just some more, like, spec hits and rim hits on it. But other than that, like, I don't know. I'm kind of at a loss on this specific room.
I think you're being a little hard on yourself. I think this looks pretty good. I think this looks good. I think that it's true to find reference that's inspiring. It's kind of hard sometimes because sometimes you're like, you see a shot and you're like, oh, I want it to look like this, and you have something very specific in mind. Other times you're just kind of fumbling around, like searching through stuff, and I think that, like, yeah, I think the paintings are a good way to go too, because those can really showcase some different things. Like the level of coolness in the shadows over here is pretty intense. And like that, I mean, I'm not saying you go that way, but it's like, oh, that's interesting that artist decided to go with something like that. Like, oh, it's kind of cool. Like, but you can kind of see it's a little bit darker around the base, and like these photographs are cool because you can see how much warmth is kind of bouncing around, how it still gets like super dark in there. I think, like, from my perspective, when I looked at this, I was like, oh, this is cool. I just think there needs to be more play in the bounces a little bit more, which is something I always think, which is that, like, there's two things. There's two things that you can that I really think could improve this, and because I don't think it's that far off. The two or three things. Number one is this background plate. It's got, like, is this in comp or is this in the render, or how is this?
Nope, that's in the world, so that, like, that's physical geometry back there. The water's physical geometry.
Got it.
I tried. This is so embarrassing. I tried doing, like, depth of field.
Yeah.
But after, like, dude, I've been doing this stuff for like 20 plus years at this point. I still don't freaking understand cameras, and this is how you would do depth of field in Unreal. It's like real camera settings, and yeah. I was like, man, I was shoving every lever left and right, and I could not get that stupid background to blur. So I know I have to work on that.
I did a demo one time about cameras that I think is pretty straightforward. I think I've
seen it, man. I think it's just something I don't think I will ever understand cameras.
No, it's fair because, well, it's a lot of it's stupid. It's like, okay, so the bigger number means the smaller hole, and the smaller hole means this, and this. Yeah,
that's what throws me all the time. Is like the numbers are inverted for what you like. I've taken photography courses like in college, and it's just like, I don't know. In the end, it just always ends up being me like fake darkening, like contrast and stuff.
Hey, Aaron.
Yeah.
Did you try just targeting the statue as you can tie the camera to the statue, so then that would be the focal point, and that should automatically throw everything out of the rest of it somewhat out of focus?
I might hit you up on that. I tried that and nothing changed. So should I be seeing that live, or do I have to rebuild my lighting at that point? No, you shouldn't have to rebuild lighting. I only messed with it once with my dinosaur stuff. I need to mess with it some more. Also, depending on where your camera's set and if the camera that you've chosen actually has enough depth of field for what you need it to do.
So that's part of it too, because I'm having some similar issues. I'm like, oh, why isn't this working?
Right.
So yeah, it's figuring out the aperture setting in relation to the size of your space, which is
Okay.
hard to do with CG. It's easier to do in real life because then your camera just kind of does it, but in CG it's
Yeah.
like, ah. But yeah, try attaching it to trying attaching your focus to the statue, and then mess around with the different cameras options, and something might just click. Because
Okay.
if you did like a 30, I mean, I wish Andre was on right now because he's
He's
the
good
more
at
recent
this, yeah.
photographer that I am. But if you do, since you're not moving, I don't know if you're animating this or not, but you might want to try like a prime lens, and that'll get you a better depth of field, I think, than like a telephoto, if I remember correctly.
Okay. I mean, I cut you off, Mike. Like maybe that's not what you were even gonna note. Like I don't know.
It wasn't.
What
It
were your
wasn't.
thoughts
But
on
it's
the outside?
no, no. But it wasn't. But it's really good. It's a good it's an excellent point. Like that you want to make sure to be getting that little bit of depth of field stuff. It'll help out a lot. It definitely makes it feel more cinematic and less game.
Sure.
What I was going to say was just that I think that the atmospherics can come up a little bit on this hill. It just feels
Yeah.
like again, it's like the black points are definitely darker from here to here, but like the difference between this and this isn't as much as like it's like as so it's like 1, 2, and then back over here is 3. Like 3 is very lifted, and it's like a big difference between 2 and 3. But like from 1 to 2, it's not that much. So I just kind of want to increase that.
Okay. Yeah, I'll work with some atmosphere stuff tonight.
Cool. And then the other two things I was thinking was, I think this reflection is too saturated. I don't know if there's a way of controlling that, but like seeing it as we flip around, it's like it feels more saturated than A, reality,
Right.
and B, it's just like seeing it especially at this angle. I guess it kind of hints at what's behind us, but like that feels like there's like something super blue like right behind us off camera.
It might be. I'll adjust the water plane.
Yeah.
So just to get that Greek Isle like thing, I
Yeah.
like crazy saturated the blue shader, and maybe it's just too much, right? Because
Yeah.
maybe the skylight is projecting too much blue. Yeah, I think I can adjust that.
Okay. And then the third thing was, so like bright sun, like the exposure point on this is really nice. But this bright sunlight hitting a marble floor would really, really, really bounce more light up in here.
Okay.
Especially, I think it was in the, hold on, what was the other shot? Yeah, like especially like I was looking right here. Like even though like light would hit this and bounce into there a little bit, there would be a difference from bottom to top, like it would be brighter near the bottom and kind of go off near the top. So that's all I'm looking for is just like a little bit of that warm sunlight radiating off of this ground a little bit more.
Okay. Cool. Because all right. Yeah. So I think I tried achieving what you're talking about, but I did it the opposite. I was trying to fill in some darkness up in the dome because I was like, that seems weird. But no, you're right. Like if I were to adjust the light type and its position, like it would look a lot nicer coming from the bottom up. So cool. Yeah.
It like that. Sunny interiors, this is essentially an interior, really does have this like underlighting thing that you, again, I didn't realize it until I really started working with light. It's like, but you look around your home on a bright sunny day, and if you have hardwood, you'll see all this kind of warm light on the walls, and it's kind of cool.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, it's good stuff. Yeah, good stuff all around there, man. Anybody else have any thoughts on this? Also, I don't know if there's a way to, because again, this is all one level. I don't know if there's a way to make these flames a little less saturated once we're outside. I like this one.
I'll look into it.
Yeah. Cool. All right, Ashley. Let's start with the continuation on this shot. What's new? What's updated?
Yeah, so I hit that light on the top of her hair like we were talking about, and I got rid of that blur that was on her shoulders. I think those were the last notes that you had given me. So
I think the top of her is still a touch too bright, and I'm also realizing, is there any way to get like more of a shadow from her onto the ground? Like even if it's just like kind of a diffuse ambient one.
I can try to do that.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
But that's really all I have on this one. If anybody else had any thoughts, I think this one's looking good. I mean, again, like if this were a game, I would be so pumped. this would be such a cool game to play. Like, right? I don't know.
Yeah, right?
So it's such like a like both you guys are working on game on essentially game levels that would be just incredible experiences to go through.
We were kind of having this conversation at the Critique and Chill, and it's just like it just feels like the United States. It's very much just like Unreal. There's still like traditional places, but they're very few and far between, and they're like Pixar and DreamWorks.
Yeah. There's yeah. I mean, I don't see it.
I'm not saying there's no jobs. It just feels like learning Unreal is like just adding to.
It's also like, I mean, I said this,
adding to the arsenal.
Yeah, a lot of places are exploring the concept of expanding into that world. So they're looking, like, it's definitely not a deal breaker. Like I said, knowing Unreal was a requirement of the job that I currently have, and didn't come up. Hasn't come up in the first like 6 months I've worked there. One other thing is, I just noticed this too. It's like really bright around the base of this. So just watch that. All right, cool. Let's hop in. I wanted to hop into the other one too. So this is cool. Talk to me about what you're building here.
Yeah, so this one is also in Unreal. Continuing to try to learn that, and it's just kind of that space vibe. Like he's picking up that helmet, and like I just wanted to go with or that sci-fi.
Yeah, very cool. I like what this said. What is this reference from? Is this like Prometheus or something? Like, what is this? I can't remember.
Oh, this is Netflix's Lost in Space. It's
Lost
so good.
in Space.
Yeah,
that's right.
It's Lost in Space. I haven't seen it, but I thought it was really cool.
People were raving about it. Yeah, I should check that out. Yeah, this is cool. So I love the contrast of this kind of gold helmet in a very, very bluish environment. I think that's really cool. I think that's nice to like be like, what is this? It feels very foreign, where everything else is kind of monochromatic. This feels a little bit different. I just want to see more light on. I just want to see it more, because I feel like it's a little bit dark. And then the other thing I would do, if I got more, I'm just locking this up. Just more light on this would be, I would take down because I would take out some of the green out of the helmet as well, because it's really funny. Like gold, seeing that we have gold in our Academy of Animated Art logo, we played around with that gold color quite a bit. And you start to realize that, because you think of like there's just like one kind of gold, and there really are a bunch that have more like, and it's all about like the level of green versus warmth in it. And I think for this, it would be kind of cool to have a slightly warmer gold than a greenish one, to really like help it stand out. Now we've got this guy looking down. I love, and once we brighten this up a little bit, I think it'll brighten the reflection in the face as well, which would be cool, because it's like he's this. I just made this robot a he for no reason. This robot. Looking down at that, like that would really be a connection point between the two of them. In terms of the atmospherics in the set, feel a little strong. Just because, and I get that feeling whenever they're kind of, when they exist over the entire image. If they were more isolated, it feels like it's steam or something coming from an area inside a room, versus just kind of everywhere, because that this would be like also when if it would be this thick in this size of a space, there'd be some sort of indication of where it was coming from, whether it was smoke or something, and then these light rays would kind of cut through it a little bit more. So I think I would just tone it down a little bit, or isolate it to just certain parts of the image.
That seems to always be a thing in sci-fi.
Yeah.
More atmospheric.
Just more.
I don't know why. Like even shows, they have it, and you're like, you're in an enclosed space. Like, where's the fog coming from?
They rented the fog machine. Damn it, they're gonna use it. So, but what it's doing here is the black points between the character and the environment are so different that it feels like he's a little bit pasted on top. Again, she. Shit that she's pasted on top. And then I think the eyes and illuminating parts of her body can really, like, again, we can kind of see it around the edges here and just kind of feel that brightness a little bit more. This is cool.
Yeah, I was like looking at it here. I was like, a point light in his little the robot's little headlamps there
Yeah.
would be really cool.
Yeah, really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
But the
Ashley,
Yes.
sorry.
no, go.
The light rays on the door, I'm kind of confused. Are those being caused by light shining through the little ridges on top of the door, or is the little kind of ridges supposed to be making the lights? I just don't know where they're coming from.
Grate up there,
Mhm.
and
Okay.
it's like a light above the grate, which is making that on the wall.
You know what? If you make that light bigger, like it'll take these rays, and this is whether you want to do this or not, and it will almost like bring them more vertical, and it will create a sense that this is almost like a prison cell, if that's a feeling you want. But that was something that we did. I've done that a couple of times on films, where you kind of create these vertical, like these like subtle indications of a prison wall inside a space, if that's like a motion you're going for, and it can be kind of cool. I don't know if anybody else ever notices it or cares, but it made me happy to do. And then and then these lights underneath the stairs, is that like under the stairs, or is that like back in the wall? I'm trying to get a good sense of what's going on down here.
Under the stairs. It's
Oh,
behind
got it.
the stairs.
Got it. All right, cool. All right, well, I think that's a good chunk of notes for this one, and we'll see where that goes from there. But the shader on the robot is very cool. It's got a lot of good detail. Like you can see this kind of like edge wear on all that. The kind of dings up in it. It looks really good. Yeah, very cool. We might need to, like, compositionally, because like take the robot and the helmet out. Everything about this is very symmetrical. Then you put the robot and the helmet in there. It almost feels like it might be like maybe another object over here to help balance that a little bit. I don't know. We can play around with that at some point too. Again, real time though, so you're just gonna be moving around all over the place.
Yeah, I think with like some of this real time, it's like, and I know she's thinking about it, and I just happen to have that statue in my thing, but it's like we're trying to do like something of interest in the level, and then like I know we like for all of these things we still have to take the camera and just kind of truck it through and like spin it around. Like we have to show that the room itself is cohesive. It's quite an. I was saying to Ashley yesterday, I'm like, it's kind of, if all you're doing is just sticking light sources where there's light sources, it's kind of boring.
Yeah, it's. I mean, if you're doing it practically, like, I don't know how to say it. It's like, I just had a debate with somebody about this because they're like, no, this is a photograph I took and this integrated into that photograph really well. And I was like, I see that, and it looks really integrated. It's just a boring photo though. Like,
right.
And it sounded mean, but it was like you need to ultimately build towards a beautiful final piece, and it's like, yes, you can just put the lights where the lights exist and give them rough settings where that, it'll give that look, but it's like, is that really what we want?
I feel like when I look through a lot of like Unreal pieces, like even today on the Epic's like featured art piece of the week, like I looked it up and I was like, okay, it's just there's nothing special. It's just a high quality render of a nicely lit, like an overall nicely lit scene.
Yeah.
And which is, it's like what shines is like the shading work and the modeling work, and I don't know. It's very weird. It's definitely different than what we've been doing the last year with you. It's
also just like, I mean, in my experience comes from me, which is a decade of experiences of being in reviews with directors and art directors. When somebody says like, well, technically that's physically accurate to how that would behave, and they just go, nobody cares. That's
it's like my job too. Yeah.
Like I had,
this is how it is, and the client goes, I don't care.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
want what
like
I want.
we actually had I worked with very smart people. We had an MIT grad who broke down how the camera at this angle and the characters at this angle and this reflection of this mirror wouldn't look like that, and it would look like this, and it was just like, what 8-year-old is gonna care about that? Like we just need it to look better, so just make it look better. So like that's
of it. Oh, sorry. I think some of it too with Unreal is everybody is going for realism, and realism is, there's a light source. Unfortunately, you're not necessarily making a realistic photo necessarily look artistically satisfying. You're trying to make it look like the photo. And I think that's where some things are starting to shift a little bit, like, especially with games. They want to make games look more real. And at some point, it'll probably come back to more stylized, but everybody gets blown away when they're walking through a world that looks real. But I think it's going to shift one way, and then it's going to come back the other way. So,
I mean, it's
I think everybody's kind of excited with, trying to make it look perfect, and then they'll be like, okay, well, let's make it look not perfect again.
I'm really excited because I think we're there in animated films, and like we're starting to explore some different styles. Like Soul had such a unique style with a lot of it, and all the Spider-Verse and all those movies. Like once we get there with games, like that'll be pretty dope. Like that'll be really cool.
Have you seen the Kenna Bridge of Spirits stuff?
No.
Have you seen? Okay, so I'll come tomorrow prepared with some good stuff. But
yeah,
Kenna Bridge of Spirits is this. It's
Kenna Bridge of Spirits. Sorry,
KENA.
Yeah.
Bridge of Spirits. It's a new studio called Ember Labs, and their whole thing is that they are ex Pixar and like animation people, and the gameplay, like, it's gorgeous. Like if you see like pretty video or but like this is all real time. It's just a different style, and then like
that's really
what was
beautiful.
the one that just came out? Ratchet and Clank: A Rift Apart. Like that game was stunning, and it was very stylized and kind of that animated look. Like that image of like
great.
Rivet. Like she's gorgeous.
Yeah. No, this is great stuff, and like, there's enough, and it's funny. There was this happened too, or it's happening, is that there was enough of us in the animated film area that have been doing it a while that now have young kids, and we're all like, and a lot of people were like watching the kids shows that were out, like, this looks like hot garbage. We can make better than this, and then like. And it was like recent
But you can't do it for no money.
You can't do it for no money. Although, like that was the thing. Is like, I was talking to a friend about that the other day, who's now at Pixar, and then, I got into this. My son got into the show Go Go Corey Carson on Netflix. And I was like, man, this looks really pretty. And I reached out to them, and it turns out they were ex Pixar people who were in the Bay Area who just like same thing, just wanted to make a prettier show. But yeah, anyway, that's like, there's going to be more influence bleeding into these things from different areas, and it's going to be really cool. Okay, let's hop over into Kat. All right, Kat. So we've got, I think the layout is like the overall layout, I think, is feeling a lot better.
Okay. The community critique people gave me some notes, so that's what I was kind of focused on fixing. I don't know if you watched all that, but basically, like Diana and some of the people were saying to make like the warmer lights kind of be all more close together in tone.
Yeah.
So I worked on that, and
Smart.
then Forrest was saying to add something to which I've been planning on doing anyway, just hadn't gotten to it yet. But adding something to the cauldron so it looks like there's a source for the fire. So that's why those little spears are in there. It's kind of like emissive charcoal-y thing. What was the other things? I can't remember what all the rest of them were. I sculpted the ground a bit more so it looks like there's a bit more texture to it. I added some grass that I've been planning to do anyway. I got rid of some of the pumpkins just because there was too much. You were saying there was too much stuff, so I kind of decreased the number of pumpkins.
I think this number of stuff, like the stuff count, I think is good. I'm wondering if
there's technically more items but less glowy ones.
Yeah. No, that's what I'm saying. Like it's a more robust space now. I'm just wondering if we can't get.
Oh, and I changed the shaders on the pole for the house. I made them metal instead of the same. For some reason, it was the same as the planks, which was weird. So I made them metal,
Oh, cool.
more metal-y.
Great.
So.
I was just braining this because I want like a little bit more payoff as we come up this, especially because, like, if I squint at it, this area in front of the character actually draws my eye more than the character itself.
Okay.
So I want to shift that brightness up into there, and then make it a little like what I did now is kind of an overall brightening, and I want it to feel a little bit more rimmy with some subsurface and stuff. And then
Well, I haven't worked on the shaders on Desmondus yet, so that's probably some of it. And that's a spotlight, so I can just angle it down more towards him instead of more out. Because I was trying. That was the other thing they were saying was to make the light spill more out into the path. So I was moving the spotlight a little bit.
Yeah. And then I kind of want to darken a little bit more around the outside. I think these are good.
Should I put like a little vignette on it?
It's more about like I'm doing it in 2D, but for you it would be more about doing it in the render. It's more about like how do we want to balance these light sources. This is the real challenge of the shot. So like I think I might regret saying this, but what I would if this was me and I was lighting this, what I would try next, I would make the contents inside the pot brighter, like give it some emission, make it actually emit some light, but then tone down the brightness of the lights on here a little bit, because I think that these, if we look at the original, I think that these are starting to compete too much with the middle.
Okay.
Let this cat up here. Let's leave that for now. And then I think what's going on inside the pumpkins is it's just the edge of it. Like it's catching, like I love that it's catching that edge and we're seeing that outline, but it's just that edge is a little bit too bright. So I would take down the light a little. Yeah. So like it feels like almost a white
shader.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the way those are set is it's an emissive shader on the mesh itself, so I can tone that down a bit more. Mm-hmm. It's not an actual light source inside the pumpkin. Okay.
Yeah, it's just toning that, pulling that back a little bit, because those are real bright too when I squint.
Change the
but
color
I think that's.
The other note that they had was to make the ground, like where the parts of the ground that you can see, to make it a bit more blue, since the spec hits on the roof of the house are kind of bright.
Yeah.
Do you think that balance is okay? Because I covered up a lot of the ground, but you do still see some of it.
Yeah. I think it's good.
So
the only thing I would say, the other thing I noticed was the star. Like I would just find a different background plate or something a little bit higher resolution. It feels pixelated back there.
Okay. Yeah, it's just an HDRI I got off of HDRI Haven.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I can look around
just something, maybe like a stock image of a sky plate or something. Just something that's a higher resolution, basically. Just because I can. And again, it's against a nice, clean, really crisp render that you can really feel the difference. Does anybody else have any thoughts on this? We'll open this up.
I was just gonna say, and it's not really a lighting thing. Looking at this like sidewalk, and the sidewalk, and there's one line on the screen left porch. Are there the sharp lines where the ground meets the structures? It's almost like the only thing that gives it away as being like CG. And so, if you could, all your like little grass plants and stuff like on the sidewalk, if you just move them and duplicate them and kind of try to hide that line as much as possible. And then the same with like the little mound of dirt on the screen left by the porch. It's almost like those are the two areas that...
Oh, like this?
Yeah, that area. It's like if you could somehow hide where the geometry meets, like I think it just sells it that much more. And I don't think it should affect your lighting or look. You just want to make it so they don't look like just duplicated. You know what I'm saying? Like you got to spin them around if you can. I don't know. I don't remember exactly Were these just cards in?
For these?
No, this was actually grass I got from Megascans.
Yeah, 'cause
Okay.
I don't remember those being in there.
No, well, there was grass in there, but I deleted it because those were just cards. The original image, or the original asset has like the kind of cardy grass. This is actually mesh, although for some reason I think the shaders. But anyway, long story short. But yeah, they come from Megascans, and there's like 20 variations of them in there, so I can pick different types and kind of scatter it about.
I mean,
So-
I wouldn't even say like necessarily like randomly scatter. I would like definitely with intention. Like,
Yeah.
You know, try to have it be
Kind of
building
line
up.
the edges.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's something that I struggle with when I do my own modeling too. Is like these connection points, because it really does. Like there are points where it just feels like straight line just shoved into the ground. You know, like just getting that little bit of like curve underneath it is really tough. So.
I just had it the other day I was working on that raptor shot again, and where the plants meet the ground, it's like, oh, this doesn't look right. There's something weird about this.
Yeah. And then you look at plants and you realize, oh, it's because they're actually growing into the ground and like there's a little buildup around them.
Yeah.
All that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I can sculpt and move the plants around and do some more messing around with the mesh too.
Cool.
I like actually sculpting a little bit. It's fun. It's a nice break from lighting. Like, oh, just make stuff move.
Yeah. All right, cool. All right, well, great work today, guys. And I will work on not calling all robots him, and that will be what I work on tonight. No, I'm just kidding. I will. So keep posting, keep it going, and I look forward to seeing you all tomorrow. All right,
Cool. Thank
be good,
you.
everybody. All right, talk to you soon. All right, bye.
Bye.
Thank you.